يا ليلي يا عيني يا ليل.
Who is Egypt? Who is Kemet that we learn about in books? Here we are going to offer questions more than answers. Questions about what happened to the wisdom that accumulated over thousands of years, as over time the many conquests of Kemet became too much to bear, and the residents of the houses of life and wisdom left, ending the service of scientists and the people of knowledge, and about why, even until now, this wisdom still exists inside us, as Egyptians and populations of the civilized world, and about how this tradition of philosophy persisted through oral heritage and folkloric events.
أنا حضرت كذا مرة موكب سيد أبو الحجاج في الأقصر، هو نفسه موكب نقل تمثال آمون من الأقصر إلى الكرنك، هو نفس الحكاية يعني. المركب اللي كان بينتقل فيها التمثال وبتاع نفس الحكاية، يمكن بقى مركب بقى عربية كارو، بس هي الحكاية يعني. فده الحقيقة أحد المظاهر اللي بيتجسد فيها امتداد التراث مع اختلاف العقيدة. قام سيد أبو الحجاج في وسط التماثيل الفرعونية، يعني في وسط الأعمدة الفرعونية اللي عليها النقوش الفرعونية، ولا للحظة ممكن تقول لأي واحد من الأقصر إنه هذا الموكب مهرطق. لا يمكن، مش فيش حد بيفكر إنه دي هرطقة أبدا خالص يعني. لكن أنت لو تبحث تاريخيا هتلاقيها هي موكب آمون من معبد الأقصر لمعبد الكرنك.
To start with, what is a house of life, per Ankh? In every governorate in Kemet there was a huge complex, mistakenly named temple. But in fact it was much more than that. It was a house of wisdom, a library, a local government seat, food supply storage, the prince's headquarters, living facility for the wise people, the scientists, the monks, the artists, the performers of the rituals of wisdom. Rituals of wisdom ranging from poetry to musicals that aimed at communicating knowledge and ethics to the simple lay people who naturally did not read or write.
And in ancient Egypt we find the god almost always in occultation, in the Holy of Holies, hidden and only revealed through various degrees of expression and emanations, and is spoken on behalf of by the wise, and perhaps that might be at the source of why wisdom literature is traced back to ancient Egypt. But of course ancient Egyptian texts are far-ranging beyond simply just wisdom literature.
يفج منه روايح قليل الأدب تجرت العيب ما تجي من غير الفضايح.
But what happened on that day? The day when wise people left the house of life. The day that lasted hundreds of years. What did they do afterwards? What you see behind me is the last per ankh to be evacuated. The last house of life in the southernmost point in Kemet to offer the sung wisdom. Let us imagine them leaving with the lightweight musical instruments like the violin and the viola, so that they can be able to keep singing wisdom tales as wandering storytellers in saints' days and folkloric events, which are regarded as heretical events by modern-day Egyptians. But it persisted and was always loved, only because it gets them to listen to what they always like to hear, the wise words. That might seem, for the first instance, primitive and simplistic, but found after long analysis of Egyptian literature to be an exact replica of what was left for us on papyrus, of what was sung and performed in per ankhs every day around ancient Kemet. Egypt as a concept was created after a series of unifications into two kingdoms which were later united to form Kemet. Egyptian literature expressed that in a literary work about a long fight that lasted 80 years between Horus, the son of the king of the North Kingdom, the green divine entity who introduced the Kemmettians to agriculture, civil structure and language, with the help of Iset, his wife, the giver of renewed life, the divine mother, and with the help of Tot, the angel of wisdom, and his wife Sishet, the angel of writing and design. The fight against his uncle Set, the strong ruler of the south, the warrior, the lord of deserts, the lord of chaos and void, who earlier had killed his brother Osiris and cut him into 42 pieces and spread them across the governorates of Egypt. Iset put him back together and resurrected him to give birth to Horus, the demigod, king of Kemet, who unified the south and the north. Up till today, Egyptians celebrate a long fight that does not end and that does not have a winning party nor a losing party. As advised by Tot, the angel of wisdom, do not kill your uncle, but rather become one with him. As he gave back his sight after Horus lost both eyes during the fight in front of the whole pantheon of 42 netters, the divine entities, on an island in the middle of Egypt, giving him back his insight to coexist with the counterpart and integrate with him, not to annihilate it. Horus built a city on the Nile, on the border between the North Kingdom and South Kingdom, for every Kemmettian king who wears the two crowns to reside, and from which he can travel on the Nile northwards and southwards a number of times a year to collect the different harvests of all governorates back to the capital, Ka-Hera, the house of the soul of Ra. As some governorates did not have certain varieties if it was not swapped with others in such a manner, and for this reason the royal ship has always been a symbol of the divine sponsorship of the whole of that united Kemmettian land. This has been the very existence of Egypt since that time. Its concept, its endurance. It was about containment, adding, integration and balance between order and chaos, between life and death. And this was the essence of the story of the myth of Osiris, the green man, who comes back to life every year at Easter. The rejuvenation of life, the crops in the fields and the passing of winter. The concept of Egypt's accepting the other and the fusion of contradictories.
Osiris and Set are the two sides of the same coin, two brothers. Every one of us has good and evil inside. We don't claim that we are trying to get rid of evil or that we can get rid of evil, because life is struggle, a debate, a dialogue between good and evil, and will always persist till the end of time, like life and death. This myth is all about a mirror of human strife with existence itself, whether to exist or not, and exist in what form. The myth concludes that there is no existence by excluding evil or excluding forces that are against you, but through containing it, make your peace with it and coexist with it.
بخشب المراكب من الصمت خشب المراكب من الصمت دم البحر ياخد مهاجم أواجب على الأصيل الصام لما الهلف ياخد مهاجم.
All is stable and beautiful, which ushers in the age of the pyramids, the age of gigantic achievements, where everyone is contented. But towards the end of the Old Kingdom, for a number of reasons, the state dismantles, the center of supervision is greatly reduced, and every county prince starts his own state. The individual wonders what happened to Kemet, what happened to this country. And with it we see for the first time literary works that reflect the internal conflict that stems from the concept of insight. The Kemmettian person is venturing into himself, as they no longer can rely on the centralized system that they were previously accustomed to. They now feel that life is becoming more precarious, like a leaf shaking in the wind. We now get literature that is the most beautiful any ancient civilization can produce. In Greek mythology, there's always a hero who is victorious, and there is the Redeemer. But our epics are about the self-hero. The real hero in Egyptian mythology is the everyday human being who conquers his own ego.
قابلتني موجة أنا ورحت ليها قابلتني موجة أنا ورحت ليها هبت رياح.
Egyptian literature is so beautiful and so refined and contains so many different human thoughts that the single papyrus that we have from ancient times with the story of the shipwrecked official, from the beginning of Egyptian literature in a written form on papyrus paper, this early flowering from 4,000 years ago. We did not think at that stage, as Egyptologists, that it was from a palace environment. It read and was translated as if it was folk tales. People like Maspero or Gardiner, 100 years ago, they would classify this as something outside the world of the palace. This is a short passage from the part at the beginning of the Tale of the Shipwrecked Official. I'll read this in the Egyptian. Ibkui waupu in wajwa kefani hari. Gemini hefaupu wefamit. Nisu meh maaba. Khabsutaf horas ermehsan. Haawaf zekru emnabu. Nahwi fi mkhasbid ma'a. Arqsu akhenet. That's the Ra and Kemet, the language of Egypt, the mouth of Egypt, the voice of Egypt, the voice of the Black Land. And the people who spoke it were the Ramech and Kemet. The Ramech, the people, and of Kemet, the Black Land. So they'd be Kemmetti.
أنا لا لاقي صخرة أوقف عليها لا لاقي صخرة أوقف عليها ولا أنا طاير البر فين 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 صح الموج يا حرام وغرقت السفينة.
This story is here sung the very same way it was sung for generations and generations before this storyteller. The tale of the shipwrecked official is the story of a Kemmettian officer who survived the wreckage, losing all his crew members on a mission to the Red Sea, probably part of the expedition to lands of Punt, an expedition that exchanged gifts with the Ethiopian queen and brought back exotic trees and fruits to be planted in Egypt. The papyrus states that he drifted to an island where he was face to face with a dragon breathing fire, developing into a dialogue with the dragon, which is analysed by Egyptologists as a dialogue with his own soul. The dragon spoke out to him that only this analysis of his own existence is the reason why he was saved, and the reason for refloating his ship and sailing back home to the land of Kemet, the mirror of the whole spiritual world as it was always seen by Egyptians then.
For the ancient Egyptian, the battle has almost always been between chaos and order in that sense, or chaos and harmony. And wherever harmony is disrupted, that's when certain values and practices and actions have to be reconsidered. A rather extraordinary form of discourse, the so-called dialogue of a man with his soul, seemed to have been inspired by a certain moment of crisis in the society at the time, and which he takes the exposition of the normative values of a society toward something that is quite internal, private, individual. So a kind of a certain realm of interiority that we associate even with modern self-consciousness was used by this particular author of this dialogue to explore the issues which seem to be public or universal or religious or are understood to be on that level, but negotiating these values from within the life and view of a single individual.
A most beautiful existential literature you can read today.
لما غمن القلب جهرتني شبيه بالنار.
I am convinced it is a journey that never happened. It is a journey within.
والوقت جاير ومش داري ظلام من نار.
I mean, he traveled into himself.
جبار وهو قلب قرصك شبيه
was a
للتنين
process of recreating his own existence because of his intense struggle he lived.
روحك ولا نفسك اللي كانت بادية
Or is it the idea of finding your soul? You understand yourself. You go beyond yourself. This is not just analysis, it is a victory.
روحك ولا نفسك اللي كانت بادية روحك ولا نفسك اللي كانت بادية ما تعلمش يمكن بالمقادير الخافية ما تعلمش يمكن بالمقادير الخافية وتقول ما تقول وتقول ما تقول أفكارك هادية السفينة يا ابني على البر هي راسية.
No wonder Aristotle said that knowing thyself is the beginning of all wisdom, or know thyself, after returning from his 20-year trip to Egypt.
والأهمية التي يوليها المصري سواء في الزمن القديم أو حتى الآن لعنصر الفهم، عنصر التقدير. ليست المسألة مسألة غزو أو اقتحام أو اجتراء، بل فهم. لعل هذا العنصر أو هذا التقدير من أهم عناصر الشخصية المصرية، سواء كان ذلك في الزمن القديم أو حتى الآن. العنصر القائم على أهمية العقلانية وأهمية التجاوب بين الشخص وما يراه وما يحس به وما يحيط به.
وتقول ما تقول وتقول ما تقول أفكارك هادية السفينة يا ابني على البر هي راسية.
يعني أعتقد أنه هذا هو الدور الأساسي الذي قام به أيضا المصريون في مجمل تاريخهم وتراثهم، أنه نقلوا هذه الخبرات إلى الآخرين بحيث وجدت الأرض المشتركة الإنسانية بين المبدع والمتلقي أيا كانت جنسيته وديانته وخلفيته الثقافية.
In the papyrus of Ayman Kharrat, the chief wise man of the House of Life in the Ramesside period, 1500 years before Christ, he speaks of exporting knowledge to others, foreigners, non-Egyptians. He writes, "It is only because of love of God that we have this knowledge, this wisdom, this grace." He speaks of having this wisdom available to be read in other countries in the future, and that they will find in it wisdom and truth written on paper. Wrote about making people from other countries part of the inheritance of this knowledge, own it, work on it, develop it, and that they who wrote it will be like the Father who left it to them. He said, "When the columns of these houses of life are down, the written texts will still be there forever."
The concept of Sufism is all about aspiring, elevating your soul above your own physical needs. As long as one has faced their own self, they therefore go above their own existence. The ancient Egyptian understood that he is not only beautifying the land and the living, but with more giving, you are approaching your own heavenly side. By writing a book, educating someone, you make life more alive, beautiful and better. And through that, you live. You're only alive in this existence by adding something to it, by making it beautiful. This is what we read in Kemmettian literature. We read for Imhotep, the great architect of Saqqara Plateau, the physician and writer. If everyone is dying anyway, we did not see anyone coming back from the beyond. Nobody is coming back. So if this is the case, let's make this one a happy and beautiful life. And then, in our own modern literature, we hear the same from the poet Biram Etunsi. If this life is not forever, and doomsday is upon everybody, make it beautiful, and be happy about it. And whatever is kind, let us all do. I believe this is love of life, and love that is beyond life. Not the desire to possess the material, to want this and lust for that. No. It is loving life for life's sake. It is a kind of aspiring for the sublime. You live as long as you make life more livable and full of life. So when you die, it is not a problem. It is all about that you have been here and left behind your stamp on life. The ancient Egyptian wanted more than anything to make a difference, not to be forgotten, to live forever through this. Your life's meaning is to have added something to this universe. This is why I believe that the wisdom literature is the commoner's literature. That is why today popular epics or mawawil like El-Zanati Khalifa or Abu Zaid al-Hilali are the favorite among manual laborers on a hard day's work. These also do not speak about a victorious party. No, it is a continuous, never-ending fight. Nobody knows if Abu Zaid won. Nobody crushes the other. All these Mawawil stories, Hassan and Naima, Ibn Arus, are full of wisdom phrases. Stories which echo the words of Ptah Imhotep, and Ibn Imhotep.
خليفة قابل أبو زيد. شوف خليفة بجور شكل مع أبو زيد. قال له أنا مركب اللي تعشى. لما في الحرب تدي رخاء. ده أنا بأركب المذكر. ده في الحرب ينزل يفاق. يجيب عصري فيها ضحاها. ما نزلوا ما هم الاثنين. ما قالوا يلا السلام. ما نزلوا مع بعض الاثنين. عيانا سطر في السوق عند الهلالي. سلم على تجار بيد الطلالية. عيانا سطر السوق عند الهلالي. ولا كل من لف العميمة وزنع وقال دنا لف. هلا هلا.
The members of the Kodia band nowadays go out to heal the depressed exactly like the daughters of Iset, when they, thousands of years ago, went out from the house of life to rejoice and uplift the low souls around Kemet. In this particular trance dance, Zar, we will hear them calling a commoner, Shalabi, a word in Kemmettian language meaning the layman of the street, calling him Horus himself to make him feel better. In an attempt to cheer up a normal person from a long depression period or a low spiritual energy level, to bring him up to the moon level to become Horus, the creator of Egypt. For ladies' chants, our healers will call them Iset herself, holding the baby Horus. Iset, the beloved, the beautiful, lady of ladies, to put them in a higher mood. This tradition of healing, inherited from her mother performer and from all generations before her, all the way to the ancient house of life per Ankh, without any attempt to change a note or the content of the message, and mostly without any change of words.
Baba Maidu, Salai Salai.
Codes or principles by which they weigh their own actions are articulated in the literature of instructions and in the wisdom literature.
It was a concept everyone knew. There was a general understanding, accepted by everyone in Kemet, that these were literary texts, not a religion, composed by wise men from the houses of life around Kemet, across the generations, that it was not a religion, not words from the mouth of God, but symbols, icons, and theatrical musicals made for conveying the message. The symbol was always very clear and direct, understood by both the commoners and the educated. When the king or prince comes out to the public wearing the feather in his crown, it means he is after asserting the concept of Ma'at, that he is specifically seeking justice and balance. And when he is holding the key of life, the Ankh, he has the intention of spreading prosperity. The good life is here.
We find that something is rooted in the individual and how they weigh their own actions, and channeled into one universal principle which applies to the gods as much as to the humans. I would not say that the Egyptians have deployed the speech of the gods as they have articulated in the wisdom literature as a direct cause for any act of injustice, because by nature gods did not speak directly in that sense in order to justify a direct action. It was always that whenever God spoke, it was in the reported words of the wise, and you cannot perpetrate an act of injustice, waging war, for example, or oppressing others, or coveting your neighbor's land, or subjecting someone to torture, or stealing their possessions. That you cannot use a direct form of speech that's attributed to a god that can be used to justify this. And one must seek to achieve harmony between one's own consciousness and one's own actions. And that is, once one is able to acknowledge that, then this harmony brings in the presence of the God.
لا يا راجل ما لا
ريس احنا عايزين نجيب له حاجه فاهمين الشغل.
احنا فاهمين الشغل يا مش النهارده امبارح في الشغل يا ابن عمي.
والله احنا عارفين يا عم موسى.
لا امال ايه بس.
Attempted to understand ancient Egyptian literature, both as an Egyptian, for obvious reasons, but also as a scholar of literature. My attempt is definitely to understand a text to be literary, and how one can define the literary nature of the text. Was there a word for literature? Is literature the type of work that is associated with an activity of pleasure, an act of pleasure, which has to do with modern life after the 18th century.
خشب المراكب من الصم دم البحر ياخد مهاجم أواجب على الأصيل الصام لما الهلك.
At that point, the people of knowledge from all the houses of life realised that this was the end of Kemet as a concept that seeks enlightenment and insight. After the repeated conquests of Egypt, so they intentionally invited scholars over from around the world to Hermopolis, the city of Hermes, Tot, the patron of wisdom, and afterwards they built a port and named it Rakote. Later it was renamed Alexandria, in order to export knowledge rather than losing it forever.
You suddenly find that the mathematicians are all from Upper Egypt, that the philosophers come from Akhmim, that the people who are creating the ideas and forming them don't come from the metropolis all of the time, the capital city. They don't always come from the places where we think all the training is going on, even though they may go there, which must be important to us. If they're going there, well, why do they go there? What is that to meet other great minds? And what we've done very often in particularly European history writing is to have a strong idea already and then to pick up the fragments of evidence that suit that, and then not perhaps be so rigorous about the areas where we don't have any evidence, but we're quite happy to go along with the idea that the Library of Alexandria is entirely in Greek. So we need to suspend our belief in the book and redeploy our imaginations to try to work out how Egyptian, how Greek, how many the Library of Alexandria was. Then we had to look back at the sources and think, well, have we overestimated the Greek element all the time, simply because European historians have tended to adopt Greek perspective on this city?
As we all know, the Kemmetic language after the arrival of Alexander the Great gradually adopted the Greek letters, but stayed the very same Egyptian language, which is the language we found manuscripts from the Great Library of Alexandria written in, the Coptic language as we call it now, including philosophical works by famous philosophers who came to Egypt for long periods of time to study, like Aristotle, Plato and Archimedes. Egyptian language and Greek letters, and afterwards when most Kemmettians became Christians, this language became the one used to write down all Christian manuscripts, the Kemmettian language in Greek letters. So let's listen to the ancient Egyptian language spoken until now in the Egyptian Coptic church, that did not change in utterance, pronunciations, till the moment.
Mina mina min ton sana ton sukiri katangelumi. Amina mina.
The early Christian Egyptians adopted a number of Kemmettian songs used for hundreds of years before them. Songs meant to greet the king during royal processions going into the house of life. Received them from the Ayman Kharrat Kemmettians and made sure not to change a note or a word except swapping the name of Ayman Kharrat with the name of Jesus Christ, with great strictness in keeping it as it originally was.
فيلو السكندري المؤرخ اللي جاب العلاقة بين الألحان الفرعونية ووجودها في الكنيسة قال إنه بيسبحوا على ال7 حروف، بينغموا المصريين بينغموا على ال7 حروف. هل هو ده السلم الموسيقي؟ محدش عارف، خاصة إنه العالم كله عارف إنه بعد ما فيثاغورس قعد 20 سنة في مصر ورجع بلاده دون السلم الموسيقي، المنطقة اللي عاملة همزة وصل واللي فيه تواصل بيننا وبين الموسيقى الفرعونية من خلالها. بس هتلاقي لحن متسلم من 2000 سنة في كل الخصائص الفرعونية. اللي يغير في هزة من اللحن، أنا كنت في بداية الدراسة بتاعة الألحان وأنا صغير في الكنيسة كانوا بيعلموني لحن اسمه لحن الهيتينيات، فأنا عجبني اللحن قوي. جميل، فابتديت انغم فيه والمدرس كان بيسلمه لنا، فبيقول كده بيشاور لك بايديه كده هزات معينه ويعد لك لا 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 لا، عرفت دول كام؟ عدوا. فانا عديت بس عجبتني حته رحت مزود هزه، راح موقف قال في واحد زود هزه، قلت له لا بس اللحن حلو. قال لي هنا مفيش حاجه اسمها اللحن حلو، تحفظه وتستلم اللي انا مستلمه مظبوط. قال لي ما تحضرش تاني. وانا ما كنتش مستوعب ايه اهميه الكلام ده وزعلت، ولكن لما كبرت وسالت المعلم في الدير انتوا ازاي مستلمين الهزات دي؟ قال لي ده ابويا وجدي ودي هزات يعني بالوحده ما تقدرش تبقى بعيد عنها، ومسلمين بالصوت وبالمقام وكل حاجه. وفيلو السكندري ده عاش قبل الميلاد ب20 سنه وحوالي 50 سنه ميلاديه، كاتب عن الجماعات المسيحية الأولى في مصر. قال حتى خدوا ألحان كانت موجودة عند الفراعنة وحطوا عليها كلمات تعبدية من أفخم الكلمات. قال على لحن جلجسة اللي هو را 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 تيرا را 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 را. ده بنقوله مرة في الكنيسة يوم الجمعة العظيمة، الجمعة الحزينة. قال إنه لحن جلجوسة ده كان بيتقال أثناء عملية التحنيط، يفضل يسرد وينغم بيه أثناء عملية التحنيط.
يا أيها الملك السمائي
زي لحن بيكسرونوس ده برضو بيتقال في نفس الجمعة، بس بيتقال نصه حزيني ونصه فريحي. ففيلو ده قال ايه؟ قالوا انه اللحن ده كان لحن وداع الملك سواء مات او حصل له حاجة وفي تنصيب ملك جديد، فبيقولوا اللحن ده نصه حزين.
قدوس الله قدوس القوي قدوس الحي الذي لا يموت
حزيني ونص فريحي.
زوج صابتري كيو كي آجي يوبلبماتي كيرين كي آي كيسوسي او ناستوني اولون
وقال لحن بقوله لحن الموكب الملكي اللي بيستقبلوا به الملك في البلاط الملكي في القصر بتاعه، وقال عن لحن خنفران اللي بيمشي به الموكب في العيد. المسرح نشأ هنا لأنه المصري عنده الفكرة الدرامية يعملها في حدوتة بنفس المنطق بتاع الدراما، يعمل له مقدمات ويعمل له تصعيد ويعمل له حبكة ويعمل له بؤرة صراع. لما رجعت للليتورجيات القديمة بتاعة الفنان المصري العابد والكاهن المصري في المعابد الفرعونية لقيت نفس الموضوع، إن عنده طقس كان في رموز معينة بيعملوها قدام الناس كلها، ويعمل موكب ويعمل زي ويعمل موسيقى ويعمل بخور، نفس القصة.
وعلى من الزمن كل علة ولي عند الكريم حلل كده بتناديني التاني ليه وانت عايزة مني ايه، بتناديني تاني ليه وانت عايزة مني ايه، ما خلاص حبيتي غيري اروح ليه حبتي روح ليه اللي حبتي وبتناديني تاني ليه.
تنهد سمنخ وقال: ما أجمل حلمك يا كاينن لو أنه صحيح. قال كاينن: لم يكن حلما مع آتون، وغدا سيكون هو وحده الحقيقة. فقال سمنخ: أخشى أنك ستنتظر طويلا. قال كاينن: بل سأعرف ذلك توا يا سمنخ، وستعرفه أنت أيضا. ألم تفهم حتى الآن لما طلبت ريشة معت؟ فقال كاينن: بل من أجل الحقيقة. ما أهمية الحياة في الكذب؟ هنا يشير إلى معت طبعا. قال سمنخ: اكتب شعرا. قال كاينن وهو يبتسم في حزن: قليل من سيقرأه يا سمنخ. قال سمنخ: نعم هذا صحيح، لكن من يدري، ربما هؤلاء القليلون يا كاي هم الذين سيحققون حلمك.
لبنة الحجر الملقى والمعطى والمصنوع والمرمم وهي تحتي بين يدي، أدمثها، أمرسها، أدسرها، أدكها، أصقلها، وأنعم حوافها، وهي عصية ولا أستطيع إلا بالكاد تذليل عنانها الجموح. لماذا لا تكفيني وتفيض هذه المادة الأولية الدسمة، خام الصخر وخام الحب؟ فليتني أتعلم القبول الذي يأتي من سلام القلب. كان هناك نوع من التفاعل فيما أظن بين الماضي والحاضر، بين الدهور والحقب الغابرة، وبين الزمن الراهن القائم الآن. هذا النوع من التفاعل والتبادل، حتى ولو كان غير مدرك إدراكا واعيا وعقليا، كان له فيما أتصور تأثير عميق في كتاباتي وفي أعمالي اللاحقة. يعني هذا التفاعل بين الماضي الذي لم يعد ماضيا ولم يعد مندثرا ولم يعد منقضيا، بل هو راهن وحاضر وقائم، وبين الحاضر الذي في الوقت نفسه يستوعب الماضي كما يستشرف المستقبل.